The Young and the Restless spoilers. Aria, a bright-eyed girl with boundless energy, felt a thrill as Halloween approached. It was her first time experiencing the magic of the season: pumpkins with carved smiles, houses decorated with ghosts and cobwebs, and people dressed as all sorts of creatures. She clung to her mother, Sharon, with innocent wonder as they prepared costumes and treats. Every moment was a new experience, and the sparkle in her eyes lit up Sharon's world. She could see how deeply her daughter was embracing Halloween. Sharon, her heart overflowing with joy, couldn't remember the last time she felt such unfiltered happiness. Mariah and Tessa were there, too, making every moment memorable for Aria. Together, they felt like the perfect family, like nothing could disrupt this peaceful, festive time. But, in the shadows of their joy, there was Phyllis, a woman whose anger simmered and threatened to boil over. For her, Sharon's happiness was a sharp reminder of her own son, Daniel, and the injustice she believed he was suffering. Daniel was innocent, yet he languished in a jail cell, paying for a crime he didn't commit. Phyllis was certain of his innocence. Each day of his imprisonment only fueled her bitterness and anger toward Sharon. Why should Sharon get to experience joy when Phyllis was consumed by heartache? Every laugh, every smile of Sharon's was like salt in her wound, and she couldn't stand it any longer. In a desperate bid to make Sharon understand her pain, Phyllis hatched a plan, one that would change everything. Halloween night provided her with the perfect cover. Costumed figures would fill the streets, and chaos would be her ally. Phyllis knew she would have to act fast and stay unseen, but she was ready. She had no intention of harming Aria, she loved children too much for that, but she believed that taking Sharon's daughter, even temporarily, was the only way to open Sharon's eyes to what she was going through. With careful planning, Phyllis waited for the moment. She watched as Sharon, Mariah, Tessa, and Aria moved from house to house, collecting candy and laughing together. Then, when Sharon was momentarily distracted, Phyllis made her move. She swept Aria away quickly and quietly, leaving no trace, no sound. By the time Sharon realized her daughter was missing, it was too late. Phyllis had already vanished into the night, with Aria safe in her arms. The panic that gripped Sharon was immediate and overwhelming. She screamed for help, her voice echoing through the quiet neighborhood. Mariah and Tessa searched frantically, their hearts pounding in their chests. But Aria was nowhere to be found. It was as if she had disappeared into thin air, and fear wrapped itself tightly around Sharon's heart. She felt the walls closing in, suffocating her. Nothing mattered now but finding her daughter. Meanwhile, Phyllis had taken Aria to a small, cozy cabin she'd prepared. The cabin was filled with toys, snacks, and warm blankets. She wanted Aria to feel safe, to see her as a friend. Phyllis had no intention of scaring the child. In fact, she went to great lengths to make sure Aria was comfortable. She even dressed up as a friendly witch to keep the Halloween spirit alive for the young girl, who remained blissfully unaware of the gravity of the situation. Back at Sharon's home, terror and anguish filled the air. Hours passed with no sign of Aria, and Sharon's mind raced with dreadful possibilities. Her phone rang, and she answered it with trembling hands. It was a voice she didn't recognize, altered and cold. The voice told Sharon that if she wanted to see her daughter again, she would have to come clean to the police, admit to framing Daniel, and apologize. If she refused, her family would lose Aria forever. The threat was clear, but so were the demands. Sharon was left with an impossible choice. Could she sacrifice her own freedom to save her daughter? Was there any truth to Phyllis's accusations, or was this just a twisted attempt to manipulate her? Sharon's mind swirled with questions, but one thing was certain: she would do anything for Aria. She resolved to meet Phyllis's demand, to confess whatever Phyllis wanted, as long as it meant bringing her daughter home safely. But things were not that simple. Sharon's confession meant admitting to a crime she didn't commit. She would go to prison, leaving her family in ruins, all for the slim chance that Phyllis might keep her word. It was a gamble that would shatter her life, yet it was one she was willing to make. As she prepared to go to the police, Mariah and Tessa tried to convince her to find another way, but Sharon's mind was set. She couldn't live with herself if anything happened to Aria. On the other end, Phyllis watched from afar, her own heart torn. She had orchestrated this plan to avenge Daniel, to make Sharon feel the depth of her loss. Yet as she watched Aria laugh and play, her resolve began to waver.